You are still under oath, Ms. Moreta. Thank you. Where were we? Mr. Is it Mr. Skakani this time? Or still Mr. Madonse?
It's me, Chair, but that is if they're done. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Where were we, Advocate Skippers?
Chair, I was done, but I know Advocate Butlander wants to also have an opportunity to cross-examine.
Oh, yes. Just hang on. Advocate Butler.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Ms. Moretle.
Good morning, Council.
Ms. Moretle, thank you very much for coming back today. I know we all hoped we would finish with you tomorrow, but we appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
So we have your affidavit that you've made before this tribunal.
Yes.
And I listened to your evidence yesterday.
Yes.
There were just a few things that I needed to clear up, that I need to understand a bit better, that I'd like to just ask you about this morning.
Okay.
So you will know by now, since you said you'd been following the proceedings, that Ms. Mengo disputes certain versions that you put in your affidavit, but there are also a lot of things in your affidavit that she agrees with and that she aligns with. So I just want to take you through those first briefly so that you can comment on them if you want to.
Okay.
Okay. Now, Ms. Mengo agrees that you typed the complaint. I accept that you say you didn't type the whole complaint, and we'll come back to that in due course. But she says her version is that you typed the complaint while she narrated to you, that she was very emotional at the time. She agrees with you about that. And that she showed you screenshots of her cell phone as you were going in the process.
Yes.
And that later on, she emailed those screenshots to you. Correct?
Yes.
So you both agree on that. Then her evidence was that you did not make a copy of the signed complaint that ultimately you took to the Chief Justice.
Yes.
You both agree on that.
Yes.
And in fact, you go further in your affidavit and you say that was because it was not the practice to make a copy of a complaint of this nature before you took it to the Chief Justice, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Then Ms. Mengo agrees with you that on 9 December, you called her saying that the affidavit had been misplaced. Sorry, it wasn't on 9 December, it was a bit later.
Yes, it was a bit later.
Yeah. And that it had been misplaced and that she must do a new complaint in the form of an affidavit.
Yes.
We're on the same page. Okay. And she also agrees with you that you sent her what we'll call a pro forma affidavit. That was an affidavit with the introductory portions and the closing commissioner's portion of the affidavit completed.
Yes.
Correct. Okay. And she agrees that she couriered a signed, commissioned copy of that to you in January.
Yes, that's correct.
I think it was the 18th of January.
Yes, somewhere there.
Okay. Now, there are also things that she disputes. Okay,
Yes.
so I'd like to take you through that so that you can comment on it. You have an opportunity to respond. Okay.
Yes.
Ms. Mengo disputes that she had her laptop with her on the 7th and 8th of December when she came to Johannesburg. And she disputes that she typed any part of that complaint. Do you want to respond?
That is not correct. She had her laptop, as I've indicated, because she said she was going to work She brought it so that she can finalize the judgment that she was working on.
Okay.
So because it was late and I had to leave, I said, you carry on so that we finish. Because remember, I was instructed that the complaint needs to be finalized before she returns back.
Yes.
Yes.
I recall that evidence. Her version is that she did not have a laptop with her, and that there were no judgments. She was not given opportunity to place this part of the evidence before you. But if she were asked, she would say that there were no judgments that she had outstanding at that time because it was the end of term, and the last work that she had to do before the end of term was in criminal court, and that there were no judgments. But you won't know anything about that, so I won't ask you to respond to
Yes.
that. I have your version. Now, on your affidavit, you say that Advocate Potgieter specifically asked you to bring your laptop with you. Is that
Yes.
correct? So I want to put it to you that that's why you were asked to bring your laptop specifically, because Advocate Potgieter knew that Ms. Mengo did not have a laptop and that you would have to assist her by typing the complaint. Would you like to respond?
Come again, please.
So, sure. Advocate Potgieter asked you to bring your laptop when she asked you to come and assist a complainant, correct?
Yes.
And you said that specifically in your affidavit and also in your evidence yesterday.
Yes.
So I want to put to you that she specifically asked you to bring your laptop so that you could type the complaint because Ms. Mengo did not have a laptop with her.
At the time when we met at Advocate Potgieter's office, she did not have a laptop. But when we got to the hotel, when we were checking in, that's when she took the luggage. That's when she brought her laptop with her.
Okay, that's the first time we've heard that in these proceedings. Ms. Mengo's version, as I put to you, is that she did not have a laptop.
That is not correct.
Okay. She also disputes that you left her hotel room at about 9 o'clock. She says that actually you left after midnight when the affidavit was completed. And in fact, she was so worried about you leaving so late that she sent you a thank you card after the event to thank you for staying so late with her because she was worried about you getting home.
Yes, but it was not at midnight. It was around 9 o'clock.
So she sent you a thank you card to say thank you for staying with her until 9 o'clock.
Yes.
Okay. Then Ms. Mengo agrees with you that the next morning you both met at the offices of the OCJ in Midrand, that you printed the affidavit and that she had emailed the annexes to you and you put that together and together you went to the police station to commission it.
Yes.
Okay. She also says she never had a copy of that complaint because you had the only copy, and you confirmed that the only printed copy was the one that was commissioned that you then took to the Chief Justice.
I didn't get that you say.
She says she never had a copy of the complaint. Okay. Ms. Mengo's version was you had the only copy of the complaint. I'll let you respond to that first.
I didn't give her the copy of the complaint because she finalized the complaint when she typed the previous night. So she ought to have saved it on her laptop. So I can't
okay.
give her a copy of something that she already has.
So she ought to have saved it on her laptop.
Yes, because in order for me to give me a final version of what I'm supposed to print, I'm supposed to take it from you with the memory stick, which we did.
So you printed from a memory stick?
Yes.
And you saved it to your laptop?
Yes, after I got it from with the memory stick, I saved it on my laptop, hence I had a copy. Yes, and an unsigned copy.
You had an unsigned copy?
Yes.
On your laptop?
Yes.
In response to your version about the memory stick, Ms. Mengo says she never saved anything to a memory stick on the 7th or 8th of December. The only memory stick that she recalls was one that you gave to her much later when she moved to Johannesburg after she'd had a death threat. And that's towards the end of January 2023. And you gave her that memory stick so she could save the second complaint on. because you wanted to make sure you had an electronic copy of that one.
That's not correct. She gave me the second complaint came from her because she coded it. So why would I also give her a copy of the complaint that she also had? Because
No, sorry, I'm not. That's not what I meant to
Okay.
suggest. You gave her the memory stick to save a copy of the second complaint on, so you had an electronic version.
I gave it to her, the second complaint.
No. You gave her the memory stick so that she could save the second complaint on the memory stick and give it to you, so you had an electronic copy. Because she had couriered you only a hard copy,
Yes, and I made copies of that.
but you didn't have an electronic copy, correct?
Of the second one. I did when she couriered to me, I made a copy.
You made an electronic copy.
I made a hard copy for the Chief Justice and also saved an electronic copy for myself.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So she disputes that. And then I want to move to January this year.
Yes.
Now, in January this year, when these proceedings were about to start, the respondent's attorneys requested a copy of what they call the original complaint.
Yes.
Okay. And I think there's a series of emails. They're in chair in Exhibit 2. And they start from about the relevant portions, page 1422. You don't need to go to that. I'll tell you what they say, and if you want to look at the emails, you're welcome to.
Okay.
So in January this year, the respondent's attorneys requested a copy of what they call the original complaint, and on the 10th of January, there's an email from Ms. Mbali Sontra advising that you had indicated, in fact, I'll read you that portion of the email. Give me a minute. Okay, so Ms. Sontra says, and this is at page 1422, Chair. Does the witness have a copy of Exhibit 2?
No.
No. Okay, let me read it to you. It's an email from Ms. Sontra to all of the legal representatives and the tribunal in this matter. And she says, "Dear Mr. Ngube, I refer to the letter dated 10 January 2025 and wish to respond as follows. I received the communication on 13 December 2024, and I then telephoned Ms. Moretwe, who was the secretariat at the time when the complaint was lodged, sometime in December 2020. Oh, I see you've got a copy. Do you want to just go to page 1422?
Page what?
1422.
Yeah, but then it's not page 142.
Yes, I'm there.
You have it. Okay. So I won't then read the whole email since you have it, but if you look.
Yes, just to indicate to you, our pagination
not the same.
doesn't coincide.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Our
Chair.
1422 is something completely different, but we have found the letter that you're reading, which
Thank
on
you.
our pagination is 1418.
1418. Okay. So it is the email of January 10th. Have you got the right one, Ms. Moretwe? It's an
Yes.
email from January 10th, Friday, January 10th.
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. So you'll see midway through, in fact, the second to last paragraph of that email, that Ms. Sontra says, during our telephonic conversation, Ms. Moretwe then undertook to look for the said complaint. She came back to me and stated she can't find it in her emails, and I should search in her old office, which is currently occupied by Mr. Ramaisa. You see that?
Yes, I see that.
Okay. And then later on, she says she confirms that they're currently still searching for the file, and she was intending to advise later today on the status. You see that?
Yes, I see that.
Okay. And then ultimately, as I understood your evidence, they didn't find anything in your office, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And when you went through your emails on 10 January, did you find anything?
When I went through on the 10th,
Her email says, during our telephonic conversation, well, let me take one step back. She says, look at paragraph 2 of that email. I received the communication on 13 December.
yes.
And I then telephoned Ms. Moretwe, who was the secretariat at the time when the complaint was lodged, sometime in December 2022. I inquired about the complaint. She confirmed that there was indeed an initial complaint lodged at the time, and CJ Zondo was not satisfied with the complaint and asked the Secretariat to ask the complainant to lodge another complaint, which is the one that's in the papers currently. During our telephonic conversation, Ms. Moretwe then undertook to look for the said complaint. So maybe I'm wrong about the 10 Jan, but at some point, Ms. Sontra asked you to look for this, asked you if you had the complaint, and you told her you'd looked through your emails.
Yes, that's
Is that
correct.
correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember when that was about?
The initial call that I got was sometime in December, and I kept telling them that to look for the complaint in my old office, which they did. And then they called me again sometime in January to ask me about the complaint, and because they couldn't find them. And then I still said to them, go look for it in the office, because at that time I had forgotten that it was misplaced. Yes.
So in December, early Jan, you'd forgotten that it had been misplaced.
Yes, I had forgotten that totally it was misplaced. That's the reason why the Chief Justice requested that the complainant do a new complaint.
Okay.
Yes.
But you remembered the complaint.
The complaint.
You
yes.
remembered the existence of the complaint.
Yes, I do remember that.
You just forgot that it had been misplaced.
Yes.
Okay. And yesterday in your evidence, you said that you remembered that it had been misplaced when you heard the complainant testify. I think you said you'd watch the evidence of the first day.
Yes, I did watch, not the entire, but yes, I did watch. So that's when it jogged my memory to say that it was misplaced. That's why they couldn't find it in my old office.
So do you recall what jogged your memory? What did you see that jogged your memory?
When she just said that, I called her to inform her that the Chief Justice has said that the complaint was misplaced, been misplaced.
Sorry, I must understand you correctly. Who called who?
I recalled when she testified to say that I called her to inform her that the Chief Justice called me to inform me that the complaint had been misplaced and that she needed to do a new complaint in a form of an affidavit, and that in addition to that, the Chief Justice explained that although he had read the complaint, he had the difficulty of understanding the screenshot and the complaint as to which screenshot related to which event in the complaint.
Okay.
Yes.
So just to be clear, you were watching the testimony on the first day.
Yes.
And you heard Ms. Mengo saying that you had told her, that you had called her.
Yes.
To tell her that she needed to redo this complaint.
Yes.
And then soon after that, you happened to discover a copy of the complaint on your personal folder. Is that correct?
Yes, because initially I was searching for it in the JSC folder that I had created. Mm-hmm. Yes. So as and when I was going through my personal folder, which was in my laptop, I then discovered a complaint where it was named Miss Andiswa Mengo. When I opened it, I saw that it was the complaint, the initial complaint, but it was not commissioned. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And when was that?
When was
that you went through that process of finding this?
I think it was on the 13th of January, because I immediately sent it to Ms. Songa to give it to present it to the tribunal.
Okay. So to run through that morning of the 13th of January, you watched the evidence. You heard Ms. Mengo talking about you phoning her to tell her to do a new complaint.
Yes.
You looked at your laptop.
No, when I looked at my top, I was not looking for it specifically. Mm-hmm. I just came through it when I was looking for something else. That's when I discovered that this is where I had saved it. Mm. Yes.
So if we look at the emails, you sent an email. In fact, we'll find you the reference in a minute. You sent an email to Ms. Sontra at 12:53 p.m. on the 13th of January. Mm-hmm. And that is where you gave her the complaint that you found on your computer.
Yes.
Does that sound correct?
I think
Do you want me to take you to the email?
Yes, you can show me.
Okay, I'm just going to try and it's my page 1420, but it's an email. In fact, it's not 1420. Give me 1 minute. Okay, it's 1419. Does that accord with your pagination? Do you have an email there from from yourself to Ms. Mbali Sontra, Monday,
Yes.
13 January. Do you have
Yes.
that? Okay, Chair, I'm not sure what page that is on your bundle.
Your pagination is correct.
It's if it assists, it's probably 4 pages in from the top of the bundle. So it's the first, second, yeah, the fourth. It should be the 4th page. No,
All right, we have it.
okay, thank you. So on Monday, 13 January, you at 12:53 p.m. you sent Ms. Mbali the complaint that you found on your computer.
That is correct, Council.
Okay. And you said that part of that process leading up to that was you remembered it had been misplaced because you heard Ms. Mengo talking about it in her evidence.
Yes.
But yes, I heard that evidence of yours yesterday, and it concerned me. So I went and looked at the transcript of the 13th of January, which we can provide you if you need it. But let me put my point to you first. When you look at the transcript of the 13th of January, by 12:53, by 1 o'clock, which is the lunch break, Ms. Mengo had not even mentioned the complaint. She hadn't mentioned the misplaced complaint at all. In fact, that whole morning of the evidence had been taken up by procedural discussions, by opening statements, and then by Ms. Mengo starting evidence talking about her dispute with the court manager.
Okay.
So I want to put it to you that you could not have had your memory jogged about the misplaced complaint by hearing Ms. Mengo testify about the complaint before 12:53 on the 13th of January. Is it possible that you're mistaken in your memory about that?
It's possible that I've mistaken. Maybe I did find the original first, and then when she later testified about the misplacement part, that it jogged my memory that it initially was misplaced. It's possible.
You see, Ms. Moretbe, I find this difficult to believe because a case like this is not an ordinary case. You yourself talked about it as being very sensitive, so sensitive that you didn't even save the document to your work computer. I would imagine that you don't get complaints against a judge president very often. Have you had any others?
We had, but not relating to sexual harassment.
Okay. So this was unusual. The process was unusual. You had to go to a complainant's hotel room and sit and type with her into the night. You had to deliver something to the Chief Justice. He told you that this was misplaced. You had to get another complaint. There's nothing usual or ordinary about this. And you also went through your emails on the 10th of January, before this process even started, when Ms. Sonta asked you for the complaint. So I'm finding it difficult to believe that you wouldn't remember that you had a saved copy of this document on your laptop, that it had been misplaced, but you say you remembered everything that happened on the 7th of December and the 8th of December with perfect clarity. Do you want to respond to that?
I did not recall, Counsel. Hence, I was referring my former colleagues to go and look for the file. I did not remember at the time that it was misplaced.
Yes, but you remember everything that happened with Ms. Mengo on the 7th and 8th of December clearly. You say that your memory there is not flawed.
Yes.
Okay, I'll leave that for argument. I just have a final series of questions for you. Now, when you sent your complaint to the JSC on the 13th of January, you told us yesterday that you just sent the complaint. It had no annexures. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And on the same day, when we received that complaint, because all the parties here received it together, when we received that, the respondent's legal team emailed Ms. Sonta and asked for the annexures to the complaint.
Yes.
Are you aware of that?
No.
Okay, you were asked about it yesterday by the evidence leader, but I can tell you that they asked for the annexures to the complaint and their emails in the bundles. And Ms. Sonta responded the next day, that's the 14th of January this year, and she attached a document called Mengo Annexure A, which are the annexures to the complaint. Okay. Yesterday, you were asked by the evidence leader whether you had provided the annexures to Ms. Sonta. You recall that?
Yes.
And you said you had not provided to her. Is
Yes.
that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So do you know where she got the annexures from?
I'm not sure. Maybe in my old office or in the folder, the JSC folder that I gave to her, but I'm not sure.
What JSC folder is that?
When I handed over to her, it related to all the JSC complaints, the judicial things that related to the JSC, the Judicial Conduct Committee, tribunals, up and coming tribunals. Yes.
Is that an electronic folder?
Yes, it was. It was in a hard drive. It was a hard drive.
It was a hard drive.
Yes.
But you said you had checked that initially when you were looking for the complaint when she asked for it.
In my one, the one that I had.
So the one you had is different to the one you gave her?
I think so, because at some point I had what I had saved got lost, and when we met at the JSC interviews again, I asked her to transfer some of the things for me.
Ms. Morepe, I'm getting even more concerned now because we're now hearing about things that were not saved. We're hearing about different folders. But yesterday, your evidence was there was one JSC folder that you used as a transitional folder to pass on any documents when you left the office.
Yes, it was
Now
a
you
hard drive to Bali, yes.
And now you're saying everything may not have been on there.
I also had mine that I took from that one.
And you say you checked, which one did you check when you were looking for the complaint, when you were requested for the original
The
complaint?
electronic one that I had.
And did you ask Ms. Sontra to look at the version she had?
Yes, I have always referred to check on that one as well.
Okay. So is it likely that the annexures were on that folder?
Possibly.
It's possible.
Yes, I'm not.
But nobody found it.
I don't know whether it was found or what, so I can't comment on it.
All right. Now, your affidavit says that at the time that you made your affidavit, which was the 17th of February this year, you had deleted the annexures off your email.
The screenshots.
Okay,
Yes.
your affidavit says annexures, but you're saying it was well, the annexures are screenshots, are they not?
Yes, the screenshots that form part of the Annexure A bundle.
Okay, I'll read you that paragraph. Paragraph 13 of your affidavit says, after all the screenshots were printed, sorry, Chair, it's, sorry, I'll find you the reference now. Mine is not paginated. It's in bundle 5, I think.
692.
Thank you, Judge Pretorius. I'm grateful for that. 692 in bundle 5.
692.
Do you have that?
I have.
It's your affidavit.
Yes, I
you
have
have a
an
copy of
affidavit.
it.
Yes, I have.
Okay. So at paragraph 13 of your affidavit, you say, after all the screenshots were printed, we bundled them together. We marked them as Annexure A to the complaint. I don't recall the number of screenshots she sent to my email as I'd already deleted them at the time of preparing this affidavit.
That is correct.
Is that correct? You stand by that?
Yes.
So when did you delete the annexures?
That was after I've left JSC.
When? Can you put a date for us?
I left JSC around at the end of July 2003.
So around July.
2023.
So you deleted the annexures
From my emails.
from your email?
Yes. I'm referring to that when I say I deleted. It was from my emails, the screenshots that Ms. Mengo had sent to me to print. Those are the ones that I deleted.
Okay. So if Ms. Sontra had annexures to provide to this tribunal, she didn't receive them from you?
No.
All right. Ms. Moretwe, I must tell you that I find your evidence concerning and that I will argue that your version should not be accepted, particularly as it relates to Ms. Mengo in due course. Do you want to respond to that?
I have no comment.
Okay. Thank you very much. No further questions, Chair.
Mr. Sikakane.
Thank you, Chair. Ms. Murata, let me start with the elephant in the room. Why you were cross-examined now. Let me start with that issue at the end.
Okay.
There are two versions, and that's what causes the anxiety.
Yes.
Your version and Ms. Mengo's version are mutually destructive in this way, and I want your comment. You testified that Ms. Mengo had her laptop, therefore her laptop had the initial complaint, right?
Yes.
She testified that she didn't. She had no reference to the initial complaint. No, she had no copy. She had nothing electronic, although there were things that are similar, but let's leave that for now.
Yes.
That is the elephant in the room here. What has caused what is. So, do you agree with me
Yes, Council.
that these two versions are mutually exclusive? One is untrue.
That's correct, Council.
And if it's either you are not telling the tribunal the truth, or Ms. Mengo did not tell the tribunal the truth.
Yes.
Do you want to comment?
Yes, Councillor. Like I've explained, Miss Mengu had brought when we arrived at the hotel, and then she offloaded her things. She had a luggage, and then she had a laptop, and she had the bag. At the time we were at the office, she had her handbag, at all times. It's only when we go to the office that now she had a laptop and her luggage and a handbag. And then, as I've explained, because it was too late, around past 9, I had to get home. I then asked her that, well, because we are not finished, can she continue typing, finalizing the comment? Because it was a very, very long story. Even, at the hotel, she would still get emotional as well.
Yes.
And then, so she had the complaint. The morning when she came to the office with the laptop, and then there was a memory stick. I don't recall whether it was from her or myself, where we uploaded the complaint, and I printed it so that we can take it to commission. But I think after, when we're dealing, I also saved the uncommissioned one. I also saved it for my laptop. So she also had a copy of that. I also had a copy of it.
Yes.
Just a minute, because there might have been a confusion that you didn't intend. So I want that clarification.
Yes, President.
At the time when she was at the office, you saw her at the office after you had been called by the advocate?
Yes.
Now, that was at the office of the OCJ.
Yes, President.
At that stage, did Mr. Mengo have her laptop?
No. She only had her handbag.
Yes.
Yes.
At which stage did you notice that she had her laptop?
When we got to the hotel.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Because they had booked her, she had a rental car, so everything was there.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Right, Ms. Murtla. Let me complete this part, and then we'll go sequentially again.
Okay.
Because it's what I think caused what you went through now. So, because you were watching the proceedings, something that is uncontroversial at all that was established was that the complaint, the second, let's call it, you call it the new complaint in your emails, the second complaint about which we are today, in certain parts, which is consistent with your version, is the same as the initial one, including mistakes, including spaces between where the word ends and where the full stop. That's identical, absolutely identical. Throughout, except new things. Do you have any comment about what would cause that identical nature of the two?
It can only be identical if you had the copy of the first one.
Right. Let me go back to the sequence.
Yes.
Lex, now we're going to your job. You started working at in 2022 as state law advisor, right? That's
Yes.
what you told us.
But I've been there in the beginning of 2019. I was also there.
Yes.
Yes.
In fact, you also tell us that you're quite familiar with the complaints against judges because that's what you dealt with.
Yes, Council.
This also means that you were the recipient of complaints that complainants brought against a judge, right?
Yes, together with my other colleagues. Yes.
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 In fact, am I correct that your office, and I don't mean you, I mean the office,
Yes, Council.
is the arbiter of those complaints? It means it receives them and determines them.
Yes, Council. That's correct.
In fact, it is your office, and that includes you and the Chief Justice and everybody else, that must determine whether a complaint is valid or not.
Yes, that's correct.
And in fact, while we are there, I'm right to say that that is the only role of your office as recipients of the complaints. You process them and you make sure that they are dealt with fairly and without prejudice.
That is correct.
Right. In fact, I take it that one of your core responsibilities, as you said, was to summarize, sometimes write a memorandum to give to the Chief Justice, right?
That is correct.
You also said that you served as the Judicial Complaints Commission and the JCC, right?
Secretariat, yes.
Secretary of that. Thank you.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Mr. Sikakono, but the Judicial Compliance Commission and the JCC is the same thing.
Yes, sorry, I made a mistake. Yeah, I made a mistake there. I think it's she understands what I mean. You
Yes.
are what you are.
Yes, I understand what you mean.
Thank you. Thank you. I hear there are so many JCC and right. Are there other responsibilities that the Section 16, 15, 16, 17 impose on you about how you process a complaint, other than the ones you've told us, which is to receive, to make sure that the Chief Justice receives them, and to make sure that to determine whether they are valid? Are there any other responsibilities that you have
In terms of?
in relation to complaints that
Okay.
you can think of?
Well, in terms of, it depends. If it's Section 17, you know that you will receive a complaint and then the Chief Justice will designate it to a particular member, a JCC member, to deal with that complaint. So you make a copy of that complaint and the letter of referral to the designated member to deal with the complaint. So after if there's a letter and then the complaint, I will give it to the JCC member to deal with that complaint. After the JCC member receives that complaint, once they've read it, they will tell me to issue a letter to the respondent
Yes.
requesting a written submissions as to the complaint that has been lodged against them.
Perfect.
Yes.
And am I correct, therefore, that in terms of Section 16, when you've received this, Section 16(1) of the JSA Act, right? JSC Act,
Yes.
the Chief Justice, if the complaint is valid,
Yes.
must refer it to the committee. Am I correct? Is
The
that
JCC, that's correct,
the
Council.
JCC? I'm
Yes.
correct this time, the JCC, the right JCC.
Yes.
Right. Am I correct that the Chief Justice and your office, as the arbiters of complaints, your job ends with processing it and making sure that it moves to the committee?
Remember, as the Chief Justice was the chairperson at the time, the complaint was given to him to consider.
Yes.
And then he read the complaint. And then after he established that if there's a likelihood, I don't recall the act from my head, Council.
It's the likelihood.
The matter will then be referred to the Judicial Conduct Committee to consider whether to refer the complaint to the tribunal. Hence, I said that at some point the Chief Justice asked me to write a letter where we refer the complaint to the JCC.
Yes, no, I get
Yes.
that. I get
Yes,
that. So
Council.
that's the role. That's what happened when your office receives it, is that it determines. And if it's not valid, does the Act tell us? Does the process tell what happens if it's not?
You mean in terms of if the complaint is not valid?
It's not valid, and there's maybe it's not valid, and there's no likelihood that it would lead to impeachment or charge of misconduct. What happens?
If the complaint is not valid,
Yes.
normally, if it depends, I guess, on the seriousness of the offense, if it will be dealt with in terms of section 6, if it's section 16 and it was referred to the JCC and then they said, and when they consider the complaint, they establish that it's not valid, then they will dismiss the complaint.
No, we're not there yet.
Oh.
The Act says if valid, the Chief Justice must then refer it. And I'm asking you, and if not,
Then it would not be referred to the Judicial Conduct Committee.
and what happens to it?
It will be, then it means it probably fell under section 15 complaints.
Which means?
We're not talking about in a sense if it's a sexual harassment. We're just talking it in.
No, I'm not in terms of which conduct. I'm saying a complaint. And
We are not even talking specifically about this case.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It's just the general
Okay.
procedure.
If it's
Thank you, Chair. That's
if it's not valid, it would be considered maybe it dealt with in terms of section 15, where it can be summarily be dismissed, maybe in a sense that it relates to a court order, or it's frivolous, then lacking in substance. Yes.
yes. I'm saying if it's not valid, I don't think the Act would have a section that way providing that you send invalid complaints.
No.
Yeah. So I'm asking you, all complaints, forget their nature.
Yes.
Because the Act tells us if it's serious, if it's not serious. What happens when a complaint that lands on your table, or let's say the Chief Justice, but that includes you, is invalid?
If it's invalid, then it will not be considered.
Right.
Yes.
Do you know, in your experience, because you've dealt with complaints, have you had a complaint that's invalid before?
Yes, we have had many whereby whereby it would not have. Let's for instance, sometimes people will lodge a complaint through a letter. Yes, that is some of the instances whereby it will not be valid because the complaint must be lodged in the form of an affidavit or an affirm statement.
So that is invalid.
Yes, if it's in a letter.
Yes, I'm saying.
Yes.
If it's not in the format that is prescribed.
Yes, Council.
Right. And the role of your office would be to, as you said, then let's use the word, it falls apart.
Yes, but yes, but
It's
you
not
would.
valid.
Yes, but you will inform the complainant that the reason why it's not valid.
Of course.
Yes.
Right. Let's get to this particular complaint.
Yes.
The Chief Justice at the time, according to your affidavit, was Chief Justice Zondo, who's now a former Chief Justice.
That is correct, Council.
Right. You say in your affidavit that Advocate Potgieter told you that when it started, there was a lady that needed assistance in lodging a complaint, right?
Yes, Council.
Did she tell you, would you sort of enlighten the tribunal about what sort of assistance did she need?
She told me she needed, the complaint needed assistance with lodging a complaint.
Right. And by lodging, you mean filing it with you guys, with your office?
Yes, that's correct, Council.
Did she tell you that she needed legal representation and that you would have to play that role?
No. He didn't. He just said he needed assistance with lodging a complaint.
In fact, I'm correct. It's not your job to be the legal representative of any complainant that comes, because it would be unfair for you to advise as the recipient to be involved in assisting a complainant like their lawyers, right?
Yes, we just assist. We are not their legal advisors.
I'm not asking you about what you do. I'm saying your job actually is to receive and process,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And it would be unfair to refer or to think that you have a role that a lawyer of a complainant would play, right?
Yes.
You agree with me?
Yes.
And I take it in from your affidavit, you don't say which judge. He said it's a she. She said to you, there is a complaint about a senior judge in the Eastern Cape.
Yes.
At that point, I take it that she didn't tell you it was the respondent, JP Mbenenge, in these proceedings, right?
That is correct.
And I take it from reading your affidavit that she did not tell you what type of discussion she had had with the complainant, or whether she had spoken to the Chief Justice at the time.
Who advocate both of them?
Yes.
Whether she did? Whether she
I'm
what?
saying she did not tell you what discussion she had had, if any, with the complainant.
She just told me that there was a lady who needed assistance with lodging a complaint against a senior judge. The complaint related to sexual harassment.
Right? She also, as you say in your affidavit, told you that this must be dealt with utmost confidentiality.
Yes.
Right? Are there complaints with which you deal without confidentiality?
No, all complaints that are lodged with the JSC are dealt with confidentiality. In fact, there's a section in the JSC Act that provides for the confidentiality of information.
Absolutely. So I'm correct that it would have been obvious, because it's your job, that anything you deal with about judges is confidential.
That is correct.
Except that, Advocate Skakani, this time Advocate Potriters added a word. She said, utmost confidentiality. So he didn't just say, this is the case where you should deal with confidential, witness confidentiality. She said, this is the case where utmost confidentiality is
In fact,
needed.
it's my
We're just reinforcing the point.
In fact, it's my next point. I was
All
going
right,
to say.
okay, then
So
I've covered you then.
I'm
Go
going
to
there.
the other one.
So now that we know that it had to be dealt with confidentiality, with utmost confidentiality, did you know what that meant?
Yes, that no, it must not. Well, it must not be leaked. No other people must know that the complaint has been lodged. And it relates to what and it's against who. That is my understanding.
No, it's fine. Thank you. In paragraph 6, you say that as I've did not specify how you had to assist the complainant. Am I correct?
Yes, that's correct.
You say in paragraph 6 you understood it to mean filling forms and deposing to an affidavit.
Yes.
Am I correct that it would suffice then to interpret the instruction you were given is that you had to explain the process to the complainant as you would with any complainant,
That is correct.
right? Am I correct that previously, and correct me if I'm wrong, you have not drafted a complaint for a complainant other than in this case?
That is correct. I've never written typed a complaint for a complainant.
Yeah, I'm going to get back to that. So this was the first time you went, let's call it, beyond the call of duty.
That is correct.
You ended up typing the complaint of a complainant that must submit it to yourself,
That is correct, answer.
right? And I established with you that your task as the Office of the Chief Justice is to receive them and be arbiters of whether they are compliant then or valid, right?
Yes.
In paragraph 7, you say, and I think it was canvassed early this morning in your cross-examination, that you say Advocate Bertrita asked you to bring the form and your laptop, right?
That is correct, Counsel.
So the instruction that you must type it, I suppose, came from her?
No. Like I said, based on the emotional state that she was in, I volunteered to type because I saw that she was not in the condition to type.
Thank you. And I take it, because it's not clear in your affidavit, you did not know how long Advocate Bertrita had been with the complainant?
No, I did not know, Counsel.
And she did not tell you that,
No.
right? You say that she then left you with Miss Mengo, right?
Yes, Counsel.
So at the time, Miss Mengo did not have a complaint written or any form filled.
No, she did not have.
And am I correct that in the ordinary case, maybe not this one of utmost confidentiality, in the ordinary case, you would, as you have already confirmed, you would explain the process like any person who wants to complain.
Yes, what normally happens is that when I was still working at the Office of the Chief Justice, we will also have walking clients whereby they will
Yes.
come and tell us that they want to lodge complaints, whereby we will explain to them the process of lodging a complaint and the procedure. Thereby, we will also email them the JCC complaint form for them to complete if they still want to proceed to lodge the complaint.
Yeah.
Yes, Counsel.
I make the point again, as you confirmed. This was the first time you went beyond the call of duty and drafted what was to be submitted to your office.
Yes, that's correct, Counsel.
Thank you. In paragraph 7, there are instances, as you said, where a complaint is not brought to the attention of the CJ. You say this one had to be brought to the attention of the CJ for a particular reason, right?
Yes.
Would you take us to that point again, and why this one?
Okay. Complaint, if a complainant lodges a complaint against the head of court, that complaint will be given to the chief. Let's say the complaint is firstly taken to the Chief Justice after we've sent acknowledgement letters, prepared memos. So we give it to the Chief Justice to consider it. He will read through it and say refer to the head of court.
Right.
So we write a letter to the head of court telling them that there's a complaint against a judge in your division that you must consider. Then that letter and the copy of the complaint will be scanned and emailed to that particular head of court to deal with the complaint. Once the complainant, the JP is finalized with that, has considered that complaint, he will write a letter to us informing whether, making a recommendation whether the complaint must be dismissed. For example, sometimes most of the complaints, if they relate to a court order, they will say that we recommend that the complaint be dismissed as it relates to the merits of a court order.
Yes.
Yes.
And then you tell us that consistent with the fact that you had brought your laptop and you wanted to assist, you started typing the complaint.
Yes.
And I take it you first, and correct me if I'm wrong, you explained the process to the complainant.
Yes.
As you would any complainant, right?
Yes.
And then, as I say, you then started your, let's call it, going beyond the call of duty, and you drafted it for her.
Yes, I started typing
It for her.
Yes.
You also tell us that at some point you had to abandon the typing because she had to check in. Am I correct?
Yes,
She had not checked in at the time.
Yes, because I recalled that she had said she had not checked in, and then because she needed to check in, I suggested that she goes and check in, and then we can continue in her hotel room.
And the hotel room that, the hotel you talked about, you testified that it's the Protea Hotel, and you say that which is next to the offices of the Chief Justice, right?
That is correct, Council.
Do you know if your office had assisted her to seek abode there?
Yes, I think they had booked for her.
Thank you.
Yes.
You say that at some point around when you were then in her room, you typed until it was, I know it's controversial because it's being disputed, but you say you did the typing with her until 9 o'clock, 21 hours, 2100 hours, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And at this point, am I correct that you were using your laptop
To type.
to this point?
Yes, Council.
And you were not done by that time and you had to leave,
Yes.
right? Now, this is the point that I think is going to be, I think has been disputed to you, is that it is at this point you say that Miss Mengo had actually, contrary to her testimony, had actually brought a laptop,
Yes.
and therefore that is why you were able to ask her to proceed. You say this in paragraph 11 of your affidavit, right?
That is correct, Council.
Would you tell us again, if I'm correct, you then had to put or save on your memory stick or a memory stick what you had typed so that you could put it in or save it on her laptop?
I saved what I had typed
Yes.
in a memory stick, gave it to her so that she can save the document in her laptop so that she can continue typing.
Right.
Yes.
And so you then had, as you say, we know now, at least on your version, that the electronic version of what you had typed and what she continued to type would have been on her laptop.
Yes, that's correct.
You also say in your affidavit that the two of you, as you parted ways, agreed that you would meet on the following day and that she would continue typing and you would continue the following day.
Yes.
But on the following day, you say in your affidavit that when she came to you, having worked very hard, she indicated that she had completed
That is
typing.
Yes, she had completed typing it.
May I ask if at this point you continued to assist or you simply took the version that she had typed?
I simply took the version that he had typed because she indicated she had finalized typing it. So all was left is for us to print and commission the document.
Would you favor me with some explanation as to how you took it from her laptop? I know it looks repetitive, but let's just get the process of how it got to you so that you could print it.
We used the memory stick, Council.
What do you mean you used? You saved what was on her laptop in your memory stick?
I'm not sure whose memory stick, but
Doesn't
we
matter.
took a memory stick. She saved it on the memory stick, the complaint that she had worked on, and then I took it, put it on my laptop so that I can print it.
So that we go back to the first point, because it's as I said, it's the elephant in the room.
Just a minute. Just a minute.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. So you would persist with your version, contrary to hers, that the version that she typed, which is the one that finally became that complaint, was on her laptop.
That is correct, Council.
You also say in your affidavit that you requested her to send you screenshots of the conversations between herself and JP, which you printed. Am I
Yes.
correct?
Yes, Council.
You printed it. Did you print it there and there? May I inquire?
Yes, we are printing it there and there.
And this, you say it's because you wanted to attach this to the complaint or the affidavit as Annex A. Am I
Yes,
correct?
that's correct, Council.
Thank you. And then you tell us, we go back to the part about the confidentiality. You tell us that you gave her your private email, right?
That's correct.
Before we go further with the private email, I just want some clarity. When you say that you asked her to send you some, is it screenshots or whatever it is?
It's the WhatsApp communication
The
between
WhatsApp
her.
communication.
Yes, JP.
Did she do that?
Yes.
But we're on that same day. That's what I wanted to know.
Yes, on the same morning, that morning when she came after the complaint has been, she had finalized typing.
Yes.
After I printed the complaint,
Yes.
now there were conversations. Remember, she had referred to the conversations.
Yes.
So she had to screenshot the conversation, send to me so that I can print.
Do you know how she sent them to you?
She would screenshot and then send from her private email.
Okay, let me leave it there.
Yeah.
Am I correct? Going back again to the point I made, that maybe because of the nature of this complaint, you hadn't worked so hard to assist the complainant.
That is correct, Council.
You say then and by the way, the date by this time is the 8th, am I correct?
That's correct, Council.
And then you, having printed the affidavit, the complaint, you then proceeded to commission it at the police station,
That is correct, Council.
obviously with the complainant, right?
Yes, I was with the complainant.
I want to take it to the point that I made earlier, because it's something that we're going to argue later. Was there any difference, in your view, between what she had typed the night before and what you had left having typed? Or you do not know?
Was there?
Was there any difference? Did she remove what you had typed or she added? She simply added.
I didn't read the complaint at that stage as to whether there was any difference between what.
But you've read what is called the initial complaint now, haven't you? You've seen it.
The second one, or which one?
The one you acknowledged. The one you went to commission to the police station.
Yes.
You've read it.
Yes. But it was a long time ago. Yes.
No, it's fine.
Yes.
It looks like the one you had signed. I mean, you had commissioned with her.
She said it was a long time ago. I don't think that question, I don't know what you mean it looks, because they're all written on a paper and printed in black and white.
It's
But
fine.
I think we must be careful without giving the witness the opportunity to compare the two. We must be careful not to go too far with the comparison.
Chair, I am going there. I think I am going to the real documents. And may I adjourn?
Yeah.
5 minutes, because I am going where the chair thinks I'm not going. And
No,
I think it disturbs
I wouldn't
me.
have allowed given the platform if I did not know that we're going the same direction. So I think what I was saying was we should just be careful not to go beyond a certain line when we compare the documents, because I'm not sure what you mean by saying they look the same.
Chair, that's why I asked the question, have you read it?
Ask her the question.
I said, have you read it?
A long time ago.
Thank you. We will go to it when the time comes. Chair, can I adjourn? For 5 minutes
For how
to
long?
talk to my. Give me 5 minutes.
How much?
5 to talk to my clients
Yes.
and the other two.
Should we maybe make it longer so that we don't have to
We
take a
take
break
tea?
for tea?
Yes.
Maybe we should come back at 5 past.
Thank you.
At 5 past.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.